Magandang araw. Ako si Kuya Code. Welcome back to my channel where I teach Python through fun and practical examples. Today we'll be continuing to look through software design patterns. Before I start, I just wanted to mention that I know that I haven't uploaded in a while. I did get a new job and I've been kind of busy with that, and also I do have other hobbies, but I'm still planning on continuing to make videos whenever I get around to it. So anyways, in this video we're talking about the proxy pattern. So proxy is a structural design pattern that lets you provide a substitute for a substitute or placeholder for another object. The proxy controls access to the original object, allowing you to perform something before or after the request gets through to the original object. So in this quick example, this is just the default code that I have. So I have a room. Like imagine you're playing a game, and when you go into a room where you have all these rooms that have all the assets inside the rooms, and a bad way to do things is just to kind of load all of the objects at once, especially because in a lot of cases you're not necessarily going to need all the objects at a time. And it's just a lot more work in terms of, if you have like 50 rooms, obviously you don't want to load it all at once because then the initial load time would be longer. So if I were to go ahead and hit run, you can see that I have 3 rooms here: a hall, a library, and a dungeon, and all of the assets for all the rooms get loaded right away before you even enter any of the rooms. But we're going to make some changes using the proxy pattern so that way when you enter a room, it's going to unload all the stuff in the previous room and only load the stuff for the room that you entered. A good example that I've noticed more recently with this is Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, because in that game everything has loading times when you go into a city or when you go into a room, and if you use the console to fly into a city without using the door, then basically it's a proxy because you can see all these buildings. It's very low detailed. There's no NPCs or whatever. And then when you actually use the door, then it loads all the appropriate assets for the city. But then again, if you use the console commands to fly out of the city without using the exit door, the regular world outside of the city is very low detail and there's nothing there. So it's kind of the idea where it only loads stuff that you're using. And a reason why it does that, I believe, is because all the objects in a city or a house or whatever, they're all interactable, they're all movable, and when you leave and you come back, if you move an object and you leave and come back, the object is still there. Or you can drop stuff, leave, and come back. And so it kind of has to remember where all these objects are. So if the system is trying to remember, hundreds of thousands of objects throughout the entire game and all their exact positions when you're not even in the room, then it's just a waste of memory, waste of time. So this is generally why this is a good one to know. So I'm going to make a few changes here. So let's see here. I got a real room, which is fine. I'm just going to make a enter and exit functions for that, which is right there. And now what I'm going to do is just make a a proxy instead. Oh, well, actually, we'll do this. I'll make a property, which is this property decorator is for getters and setters. So I'll call it loaded self. Um, return self dot sets loaded. So rather than calling this as a method like this, like that, or like this, it treats it as a property, and it just basically returns this, and this has an underscore, so and this is private. So rather than just directly calling a private method or a private variable or property, we can just use the method to return it, but then it's still treated like a property. So that is good, and now I'm going to make a proxy room. So class room proxy. I'll just do this. So we have our init. We'll have a room property, and then we can just have an enter and an exit. So this kind of looks similar to this, except it doesn't have any of the asset loads. But when you create an object of this one instead, it has a reference to the real room, which I mean currently is none, but when you call this, it's just going to instantiate the actual real room object, and then it's just got to pass the name to it. And then when you call enter on the proxy, it'll instead call enter on the uh, actual room, which is, this, which of course then you can just call load assets or whatever. So instead of doing real room, this will just be proxy room instead. So that'll be proxy room. All this should still be the same. So let's see if I didn't make any typos. Actual accident indentation here. I need a colon. Okay, and notice it doesn't actually call any of the load assets right away. If I press 1, now you load the assets for the hall, which is good, but here's the key part. If I press 2 to go to the library, the assets for the hall are all unloaded, and then you load the assets for the library, and then you enter the library, and then of course I can do the same thing for the dungeon, and this is exactly what we would expect. And of course, if you have over the course of a giant game, or if you have hundreds of rooms, then it's way better on memory. I think it's referred to as lazy loading, where you only load it when you need it. So this is the same thing that applies to like web development or whatever. Like sometimes when I load Facebook and my internet is being really slow or something, you can kind of see the proxy placeholders behind it that are just like shadows. And then everything for that loads on top of it and replaces it. So that's kind of the general idea. And then of course I can hit exit and it still works like normal. So that's it for this video. So if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell to be notified right away of any new videos. As always, let me know in the comments if you have any questions or suggestions for future videos. See you next time on Kuya Code. Paalam.